Hello everybody. Today I'm just going to do a quick tutorial for you. I was asked by a couple of people if I would show how I made the little round doily journal in my previous video. So I'm just going to briefly show you how I did that. The first thing I did was find the doilies that I was going to use, and of course these doilies were in the little snippet mini doily book kit from Annette. And I think I still have a couple left because there were 4 in the kit. I have taken the middle out of one to use on something, but that's okay because if you decorate the front, you're not going to see that. Decide which way you want facing out. I went for the lighter colour, so that's going to be like that, and that's going to be like that. Find something. Like if you've got die cuts or anything and you've got a smaller size than the actual doily, that's perfect. Use that. I don't have circle dies, so I actually use just a lid. I found that was the perfect size. So once I had my size, I traced around it on a piece of paper, but I just left, I don't know if you can see that, I just left a straight edge just there. So instead of going all the way around, I just took it to the edge of the paper and left a little straight edge like that. Okay, once I had my template, I've got my papers together, and tea-dyed papers, music sheet papers, graph paper pages. I folded them in half lengthwise because I thought that was, I could get 3 out of there like that. Place it on the fold like that. Now you could trace around that if you wanted to, but I found the easiest way was just to cut my paper down to start with and just cut around. You can hold it there quite easily, and because it's like a little junk journal, if they're slightly off, it doesn't really matter. But like I said, if you have a die cut, you can work that out on your die machine, and then once you've done that, see, you have your papers joined in the center. So go ahead and do as many pages as you want like that. Alright, so they're all cut out now. You can just decide how you want to put them together. There's no set amount of pages that you need to be having in your little journals. Obviously you wouldn't want it too bulky if you're putting it inside of another journal, but I mean that's entirely up to you, isn't it? So I'm just... Alright. I only did 1 little signature in mine, but by all means you can do 2 little signatures if you want to. There's nothing wrong with that. Make it like a little book. Ideal to put in your handbag or your purse. You could use any kinds of papers and things like that in there. Let's see, we'll try and keep the... How many pages have we got? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that one. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that one. Let's have a look. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, So there's 5. Did I put an extra one? I think I put 6, didn't I? 2, 4, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, well we could take one out. We'll take one out of each of those. So there are, we'll make a bigger one, because I might have this one in my handbag actually, a nice little size to carry around. So like that. But at first I will just show you how I did the one. So I'll pop those ones aside like that. I will probably need these anyway to show you. So there's 5 pages in there. The first thing I want to do is find where a nice square area on the side of your doily. If it's a round doily, then just, you know, use any side. But because these have angles, I'm just going to try and find the squarest part, perhaps like that. Okay. So that's how we're having that. Get your paper, the two papers you need to start with, and just let me find it. Okay, and a scrap of fabric. You don't need a lot of fabric at all. This is just a tea-dyed piece of fabric that I've got that I use for a lot of different things. You want your the width of the join, like that. Maybe could be a bit smaller. Just so it goes across that join there. Okay, now all you need is a bit of tacky glue. You don't need fabric glues or anything like that. You just need a little bit of tacky glue, and that came out a bit quick, didn't it? Oh dear, a bit too much tacky glue there. All right, there we go. Put that across like that. I might just give that a bit of a shake. It's been a bit hot here, so everything's melting. Okay. And then fold it back, and that makes it nice and strong. If you've got a thick piece of fabric to start with, that's fine. And then you just put a bit of, you just a little bit of glue. Doesn't matter really where it is. I guess if you could avoid the stitching line, but not everybody wants to stitch. So now we're just going to line that up over there, like so. Flatten it out nicely. I hope I've been in shot. There we go. Now you can allow that to dry if you want to. And look at my cutting out here. A bit jaggedy, isn't it? Look at that. Just, if you want to ink it up, ink it now. You could even use cardstock, but I'm just keeping it fairly simple. And this works. This works. You get your doilies, just leave a tiny little bit on the edge there. Okay, tiny little bit on the edge there. Now this I'm only making a single, I'm going to make it like that, just a single signature little booklet to go inside another book. If you want this to be let me just show you. If you wanted this to hold more than one signature, you would make this part here wider that way. Let me show you. I'll just cut that out. I'm guessing perhaps about just over a quarter of an inch. Go across like that and then around. Like that, so that when you open it up, it's got more of a spine on it so that you can stitch different signatures. The more signatures you want to put in, the wider that little gap there needs to be. Maybe we'll do that. I'll just cut out another one. Maybe we'll do that after all. That way you get to see both. Okay, so there we go. We have those two. Let's just get... I'm waiting on a tripod thing. It's supposed to be here by now, but it must have been delayed due to perhaps Christmas or something. Same sort of thing. Oh, be careful, it's open. Get our tacky glue. And take it back just for double strands. Like that. Then you don't have to go right to the edge if you're going to sew it anyway, so it's mainly just to secure it together. Okay, so that's two different types. So we have the smaller one and then the larger one with a wider spine piece there. And then all you do is get your doily, place it there just so that that little bit is just hanging over just a little bit there. And you want to place it so you can see around the edge of the doily. I think these two are slightly different sizes, so like that. I'm just going to clip it, keep it in place. Okay, so that's one like that, and then you're going to do the same on this one. You're just going to position it nicely. That's a bit off, hang on. Sometimes you can sort of pull the doilies around a bit to give them a, a better shape to how you want it. Okay, so that one will be stitched on. Give that a bit of a tug, like that. Let's see. Got this one, but I don't know if that's the right size. No, that's not the right size. Alright, so I found a couple. Make a note, always best to have your doilies before you cut the size of your circles. I had to cut these, this from like a larger doily and cut it down to size, and they're not the same, but that's okay. So position them in the center once again. Now, I haven't made one this size before. You may want to have something on your spine because that will be just the paper, so you may want to have perhaps a bit of the fabric on the spine there. Maybe we'll do that, so about there, just to finish the outside of it off a little bit. You can probably just glue that there because you're going to be stitching for the paper signatures anyway. So just put that there just so it doesn't look like paper on the outside. You could put lace, you could put anything, but we're just doing that at the moment. Position the doilies how you want them, and this one, because it's going to bend over more, you can have more of that hanging over at the spine there, because when you go like that they won't overlap too much. So, and that one, running out of clips. I've got clips everywhere on different projects, and so I've got none left in my bowl. Okay. And I'll be sewing on the paper side. That way I can get that looking quite neat. And when you sew on here, you don't really see it unless you're doing it in a different colour. You don't really see it on that size. Now you can either use a straight stitch or a zigzag, and all you have to do is sew like 1/4 of an inch out from the side on both of them, and then I'll be back. Alright then, they're both done. This one I did with a zigzag stitch around the edge, and I really like the way that looks. This one I did the same as the first one, and I've just run a straight stitch around the edge as well. So this one is having one little signature in here, and this would be the time if you wanted to put in any little doilies or anything like that. You could, but I'm just having these as little notebooks. You could do your stitching around the edge if that's what you wanted to do. You could ink your edges if that's what you wanted to do before you start. I'm not doing any of that, so I'm just going to line that up with the first page. Like that. Make sure it's pretty even. And I'm going to clamp that there, and I'm going to clamp that there. And I will run a stitch down there. But what I might do is turn it over and do it on that side, simply so I don't catch those doilies. Perhaps they were a bit close, but that's simple enough. So I'm going to do that to that one. Now with this one, we're putting 2 signatures in, aren't we? Yep. So that's... Now, if you wanted to, you could sew these together now and then position them and stitch them again. But I find if you stitch over paper too many times, it makes it very weak. So I'm not going to do that. We have to put one here and one here. I'm totally guessing where that's going, so I'm going to put one there, and it's going to come a little bit shorter than that paper simply because we have a spine on this one. So that one is going to go there. like that. See how there's an edge around like that? And then when we open that one up, this next one, we will do the same thing, and it will have an edge on that side. So when we open it, it should have a nice even, like that. It should be nice and even. See how that looks fairly even there? And there. Like that. So we've got like almost a 1/4 inch gap. Now this is all guesswork. It's just happens to be the way I do things. Okay, so I'm going to stitch down there. I'm going to stitch down there, and I'm going to stitch down there. Okay, there we go. So I'm just trimming off all my threads right now. Okay, and let's see how this one went. So, oh, that looks quite nice, doesn't it? So there's our little book, little journal, ready to be decorated. Or like I said, if you wanted to do a lot of decorating, do that before and then put the pages in. But that feels really nice. Decorate the front however you want it. And this is our single signature one. Let's just cut those threads off. I did back stitch at the beginning and end of my sewing, just to add a little bit of strength to it. And so here we go. Oh, and I also put a bit of glue, tacky glue, under there to keep that from popping up all the time. That's our little single signature doily journal. So there we go. I hope the ladies that asked for that find that helpful. They're not hard. It was just something I thought of at the time. For all I know, there could be a tutorial out there on this, but I haven't even looked. It just sort of, I did it as I was decorating, and, you know, I'm sure a lot of people do that too. So there we go, little doily journals. Thank you for watching today. Take care. Bye.